Ancient cave dwellers drew spacecraft on the walls. It's a recurring theme. I've seen the same thing while walking late at night, and I know it's not a dream.
From Amsterdam to Manhattan, Boston to LA, there are people asking questions and they will not go away. But what has been seen might not be what it seems. The government's shadows dance in the sea.
If you tell the truth, they will ridicule everything you say and do. It's all part of a deception. It's a puppet master's tool. And I've seen those craft shut down the silos from 10 miles away. And there ain't nothing that the Pentagon can do. They can't make them go away.
From Amsterdam to Manhattan, Boston to LA, there are people asking questions and they will not go away. But what has been seen might not be what it seems. The government's shadows dance in the sea. From Amsterdam to Manhattan, New York to LA, you can't get the picture if they're pale or they're gray. But what we have seen might not be what it seems when the government's shadows dance in the sea.
There are competing agendas to determine mankind's fate. Their influence here.
Night Dreams Talk Radio Network brings you The World Paranormal News with James Creechbaum. Now, the latest news.
Hello, I'm James Creechbaum with the Paranormal and World Changes News. A former Air Force medic, he says there are extraterrestrial labs all over the world. Yes, that's what Emery Smith, former Air Force field medic, is changing the course of U.S. history. He claims to have autopsied about 3,000 different types of ET humanoids. Now, that is a lot of autopsying. Again, that's what he's alleging. If that's the case and there's that many labs, there's a lot going on we don't know about. That's the least of what's going on. My goodness. Also, an airplane passenger took photos of a huge UFO near Area 51. The passenger of American Airlines was attracted to a gigantic, round, and metallic object that was emitting very bright lights in the middle of the day. The first thing he did was to pull out his mobile phone and shoot some pictures of it. Now, he managed to take a few pictures, each of them featuring what seems to be a huge spacecraft with some small orbs orbiting around it. Now, according to the passenger, the spacecraft was very near Area 51. But the strangest thing was that neither the pilot of the plane nor the passengers noticed anything strange. The man decided to get into contact with the Mutual UFO Network in order to investigate the phenomena. Among many of the theories revolving around the object, one is that it might just been a huge solar power farm. However, others affirm that it undoubtedly is a UFO camouflage. So we'll look forward to further reports when it comes out on it. Also, locals of San Luis Valley near Area 51 also tell there is a portal that connects our world with other worlds. Now, San Luis Valley is about 31 miles away from the famous and mysterious Dulce Base in New Mexico. Now, many researchers and experts have studied the region exhaustively, and they strongly believe that the region meets all the components for portals to take place. One of the many theories is that these portals connect our world with many other realities and dimensions. As a matter of fact, lots of these reports, like UFOs, extraterrestrials, or Bigfoot, have been reported in that region. Also, academic researcher says that vampires are among us. The Atlanta Vampire Alliance survey estimates that around 5,000 real vampires may live across the United States. John Edgar Browning, an academic researcher at Louisiana State University, claims that at least 50 bloodsuckers are living in the U.S. city of New Orleans alone. And some of these, he says, drink blood, either human, animal, and they physically extract energy from their victims. Next news break at the top of the hour.
Good evening, or morning, depending on your time zone. From the Pacific to the Atlantic to you worldwide. Get yourself a cup of Java and find a comfy, easy chair. And get ready for Gary and his guest on Night Dreams Talk Radio. After Dark. And now, here's Gary.
And here I am. Well, you know what? We got another half an hour with Rob. It just scares me that, the amount of people that are vanishing from our planet each year. And you know what? It doesn't even make hardly any news input at all. Rob, don't you think that's kind of weird?
Well, it is weird, but we live in a society where we're pretty cut off. I mean, we're down to the nuclear family and falling in size. We are becoming a telecommunications race. We don't talk to people anymore. We don't, even when you go out to dinner or lunch with someone, they're on their phones, they're not looking up. I mean, you could be disappeared right in front of them, and the chances are they wouldn't have seen it happen because they're busy looking at their phone. This is just the way it is. And then on top of that, you have all the crime. People do disappear. Parents will steal the children from the other parent. People will be kidnapped. People will be killed. People will want to start a new life. All sorts of things. So people put, even that host on the one show that I was on, he kept going back to that, and I had to keep pulling him back and saying, no, those have been accounted for. They're not part of this number we're talking about. Those, if you take those out, you're still, I mean, about 1 million people a year disappear in the United States, 900-something thousand people a year. Now, if you extract all the people who have been kidnapped or murdered or just wanted to start a new life or stole the children from the other parent or whatever, or just ran away from home, if you take all that out, that still leaves that 50,000 to 65,000, depending on who you listen to. Actually, the FBI's number is higher than mine. I went with a lower figure. But then you multiply that times around the world, and you have masses of numbers of people disappearing. But what do you do? I mean, all through history, we've heard of people going out for a pack of cigarettes and never coming back, of walking around a hedge in the front yard and never coming out from the other side. This goes back centuries. I mean, there are reports of people vanishing in front yards in the 1800s, 1700s. There's a case of a man who had a bet with other people that he could run a certain distance in England. I believe this was back in the late early 1800s. And they didn't trust him, so they followed behind him in a cart and pony, several of his friends. They had an actual bet going. That's why they did it. They were right behind him on the road. He fell forward, he screamed, and he just disappeared. So this has been going on forever. So what is happening to these people? Are they disappearing into other dimensions, other times, other timelines, or are they being snatched, or is it all of these things? This is what's hard to figure out. You've got this phenomenon, people disappear. The question is, how and why are they disappearing? And there may be more than one answer. There may be multiple answers and reasons.
Oh, you said that so right. And we're going back to ancient, aliens. We're going back before the pyramids. We've been visited so long, and people have vanished for so long. We're talking millions and millions and millions of people through the last couple centuries have just disappeared. And think about it. It was easier for them to disappear even back before our internet days, right? Because, it was almost impossible to trace somebody down. Look at all the people who are gone. And right, the guy went out to get a pack of cigarettes and never returned. The guy who tells his wife, hey, I'm going to the store to get a 6-pack of beer. They never find him or his car again. Gone. It's scary. And it's to the point where something is going on. Yes, the government, the Navy's come out and said, yes, we're being visited by unidentified flying objects. I think eventually they're not going to be able, Rob, to cover this up much longer. It's just too many things going on. I mean, it's on a daily basis. You get in the news and you're finding cattle mutilations, people disappearing, UFO sightings. UFO sightings normally die off in September. They're not dying off this year.
No, they're not. In fact, the number of UFO sightings when I was a member of MUFON, as a field investigator, they were going up, not down. A lot of pundits said, well, with the end of the Cold War, that was bringing on the hysteria of UFOs. It was a side effect of the Cold War. People were seeing things, basically. And when the Cold War ended, that UFO sightings would go down. They haven't gone down. They've gone up. And they've been going up pretty consistently worldwide. This is becoming more and more of a phenomenon. However, people keep saying, well, sooner or later the government's going to have to disclose it. They're going to have to disclose it. I think what we're facing is not a hard disclosure, but a soft disclosure. They are leaking out information on a regular basis and is slowly adjusting people's perceptions of what it's all about. All through the 60s, 70s, 80s, and 90s, and early 2000s, the majority of people didn't believe UFOs existed. Now, in America, they do. The government released that video, and it supposedly was leaked by an unknown source. Maybe, maybe not. Maybe it was on purpose. But the Navy came out and said, oh, no, it's real video. And we know that ATIP was real. And what people keep forgetting about ATIP is it was not to investigate UFOs. It was to investigate if they presented a danger. That tells me that the government believes UFOs are real, that it's a done deal, that it's a given. And this is what they're basically telling us. No, we're not investigating whether UFOs are real. We're investigating if they're a danger. They're an aerial phenomena and oh, by the way, they refer to it as an aerospace, not just an aerial phenomena, which means that they're talking about it being in space as well as in our skies. So we're getting soft disclosure. It's happening all the time. And if you think the government's going to come out and say, yes, a UFO landed in our lawn and we've greeted them and we've signed a peace treaty, It's what's happening is we're being slowly trickle-down method of disclosure. They're never going to come out and say it's real. They're just letting us know enough information where people are coming to it on their own conclusion, bit by bit. And by the way, you don't panic that way. When you only hear it bit by bit in little pieces, oh, wow, that's interesting. Oh, that's exciting. And then 10 minutes later, you're on to something else. Whereas if they came out and said, yeah, UFOs are real, they present a real and present danger to everybody on the planet, run for your lives, then you'd have panic. But this way, no panic.
No, where would you run to anyway? You can't run. It's no place to go. If you have a bunker, you think that bunker is going to save you? That wouldn't do any good. But eventually, something's going to happen with one of these UFOs where it's going to be seen doing something. I think eventually, because our technology, we have the internet, people can report things so much better and faster now. I think one of these days, something's going to happen. And we're going to be dumbfounded. The government is not going to know what to say to the people. And at that point, they shot themselves in the foot because they have lied so much, even given out a little bit of soft disclosure, year by year. If something happens major, okay, what are they going to do? Lie about it? Are they going to declare martial law? Are they going to come out and say, hey, look, we're being invaded by aliens and have been for a long time, and we can't do a thing about it?
Well, I'm not sure I agree with you on that because, yes, I think that major things could happen. I think they already have happened. And what the government does, it quickly steps in. It gains control of the situation. It scares people to death that want to talk about it or who are witnesses with the